Good morning, everybody. As Mark said, my name is Finn Jacobsen. I am a partner at SJJ Law. There are two companion bills, basically identical language, that are working their way through the Minnesota House and Senate right now, which in their current form are going to have a drastic, largely negative impact on the majority of homeowners within HOAs. We're working to sort of rein it in and prevent it from being passed in its current form. I won't go into too many details because it's a 54-page piece of legislation, but the short version is it's going to make governance for boards a little more onerous. You're going to be required to, for example, sit down with homeowners before you give them a fine or before you foreclose on them. So if you've got, Cassie in your HOA who's, violating whatever rules, you have to sit down face to face with her before you can actually do anything. On top of that, it's got some logistical things that are going to make assessing costs back to bad apples more difficult. So right now, if, for example, you have to take collection action against a homeowner, all of those fees can get assessed back to the homeowner. There's going to be a cap on that, which means if you have to go after, let's say, Crazy Cassie because she's not paying her dues, now the cost of that is going to be borne by all the homeowners who have been paying their dues, which in my opinion is fundamentally unfair and is going to lead to an increased cost for every single homeowner in the HOA. There's also a couple of other provisions about preventing associations from assessing back fees if they get sued by a homeowner, which again is just going to increase costs and allow these homeowners who want to fight the board to do it with more and more impunity. There are, to be fair, a lot of good things in this legislation. There's some conflict of interest standards, there's some transparency standards, which I really enjoy. The problem is the people who wrote it, in my opinion, don't understand the sort of day-to-day nuances that everyone in this room here and myself do understand because we're in the trenches. So that's kind of a high-level overview. There's a few other things in there as well that I won't go into now because I've only got a few minutes. But I do want to sort of end with sort of a call to action for for all of you as board members, any other board members, frankly, any other homeowners in your community. This is a democratic system, right? So the legislature is working to pass this bill. You guys as homeowners, constituents of these legislators should be reaching out to them. The Leadership Network in their blog and their various email posts has done a good job of putting together like when things are happening and where it's happening. But I would recommend you look at kind of the summaries, whether it be on my blog or the Leadership Network's blog or anyone else in the industry who's written about this. Figure out what's going on, and then if you don't like it or if you do like it, talk to your legislators. Go to your state senators, go to your state members of the House, and this is Minnesota State, not the people in Washington, the people in St. Paul. And then more importantly, there will be more hearings like the one, picture's gone now, that Mark and I testified on yesterday, and the one that Lynn and my colleague Aaron testified at last Tuesday. There'll be at least 4 more. I want to fill the rooms and have anyone who wants to testify. You don't have to be an attorney. You don't have to be anyone special. You just have to say, I want to testify and explain why. And I'm going to put together some language that I'll send off and put on our blog and share with the Leadership Network. But what we'd like in terms of you guys contacting them is giving stories and explanations of the real practical implications of this. So you can say, listen, we had a bad actor who was fighting us and not paying their assessments, and we had to foreclose on them. And it took 8 months and cost $5,000. You're telling us now that the other 4 board members or other homeowners would have had to eat $4,000 of that cost. That's fundamentally unfair. Walking through real life examples, sort of narrative explanations would be good. Because listening to these politicians at the hearing yesterday, they're reacting to the squeaky wheels of the bad apples within HOAs who are complaining because I got assessed because I'm violating the declaration and I think that's unfair. Okay, then don't live in an HOA. If you don't want to follow the rules, that's fine. Go buy a single family home. But if you want to live in an HOA, you agree by buying it that you're going to abide by the various rules. So reach out to your legislators. When there is testimony to be had, if you're available, please come and testify. Give your point of view. Explain it to these legislators. Explain why what they're doing is going to harm you guys as compliant homeowners. There's also talk of, trying to coordinate a mobilization where we get as many people as we can to show up at these hearings. Frankly, if every single one of you here had showed up yesterday at the hearing, that would have been fantastic. There was room. I would love nothing more than to see 100 people sitting in here saying to these legislators, what you're doing doesn't make sense. I agree with some of it, but not all of it. Here's how we can change it.